I'll say it again. I think it's just one of those things. There's not many short sticks in the world that can guard me.
Who do you like big dogging the most?
I won't answer that. It's a trap question.
You're a liability being stuck at the defensive end. Here to prove something?
I am a liability on the defensive end.
On why you deserve to be on LA 28's roster.
Man, you guys are the worst.
What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Mitchell Pehlke Lacrosse Show presented by Duke Cannon, coming to you from the 2025 Lexus Championship Series. It's been a crazy couple days through pool play for the PLL and WLL. The Archers topped the Whip Snakes 29-25 to clinch the #1 seed for the PLO Championship Series playoffs, eliminating the Whips, who went winless. Charlotte North and the Boston Guard clinched the #1 seed, eliminating the Maryland Charm and establishing themselves as a favorite to win the inaugural WLL Champ Series championship. Not to mention, both leagues had goalie goals. Big shout out to Taylor Marino for the California Palms and Liam Entenmann of the New York Atlas for those incredible moments. I guess that's what happens when you come on the show. And Asher Nolting, this episode's guest, went on for 18 points through the first 3 games and is currently sitting 3rd in the Golden Stick Award. Now, we did this interview with Asher before the Champ Series game even started, and we talked about the rise from his youth to college to pro to even now today, and why he's established himself as the grittiest lacrosse player in sixes. Now, let's jump into this episode. Before we hop into our interview, quick word from our presenting sponsor. Duke Cannon makes high-quality grooming goods for hardworking men, the type of men who put in an honest effort at work while taking care of their kids or playing lacrosse. From head to toe, each product helps a guy get ready for a long day or clean up after one. Use code PLO15 on DukeCannon.com for 15% off your order, or find Duke Cannon grooming goods at Walmart, Target, and Amazon. We got Asher Nolting on the set. Let's clap it up. How are you doing, Asher?
Good. How are you guys doing?
How's your time been so far? You've been here for what, 1 or 2 days?
Couple days, yeah. I got here on Saturday. It's been good. Yeah, so it's been nice.
I like that. I think no better place to start than back in the day out west in Denver. Talk to us about the Cherry Creek days.
Yeah, no, the Cherry Creek days are great. Brothers there now. I'm actually coaching there this spring.
Okay,
so
there we go.
The classic alumni back in my day guy.
Yeah. Are you a guy that continues to open up the yearbook, or you keep it closed?
Oh, absolutely. You got to keep it open a little bit, especially when the brother keeps chirping me for some stuff. I'm like, dude, you don't know what it was like.
Yeah.
So.
Don't need to ask Mitch that either. He keeps
Mitch,
it open.
I
He
keep
keeps
it
that
way
thing
open.
open.
Can't even close.
I feel like you faded a little bit on the Riverside stuff.
Yeah, the high school stuff, but I feel like the college stuff you can't ever let
Nah,
go.
you can't do the college
Yeah,
stuff.
trust me, I would as an Ohio State guy. Get rid of that. Forget it. Like, throw it in the past, brother.
Well, quick little preview though. How are we looking this year?
For the Bruins, we got some studs.
Okay.
We got a nice little high point commit.
Yeah.
Goalie Owen Corsi.
There we go.
Stud, yep, high point guy.
Crawley coming and grabbing.
Yep, Crawley.
Panthers.
Crawley got a Panther in Colorado, and then my brother, and then Wyatt Branish, who's a stud sophomore. So team's gonna be good.
There we go. The grit and then the physicality you usually play with, obviously indoor and then on the field in the summer. Did that get born out west at Cherry Creek?
I think it probably started there. I think a little bit maybe in the younger age. That's when Matt Brown did an unbelievable job building D-Elite, and we did a lot of D-Elite box back in the day. So that's kind of where you learned how to dodge with that physicality. But I think it grew, and then obviously Torps did an unbelievable job of saying, hey, dude, you're bigger than everyone. Just dodge hard and use your body. So that was a big deal.
Yeah, a ton. Obviously, coming from a non-traditional hotbed, what advice do you have, for guys that you're currently coaching out west, and then the rest of the nation that aren't growing up in the typical Long Island and Baltimore's?
Yeah, no, I think it's one of those things. I think we play so much lacrosse nowadays. I mean, if we can all talk about club days, like these kids play so much more lacrosse than we did.
Yeah.
So just take advantage of those opportunities and don't just do stuff to do stuff. I think it's one of those things you got to work on your own. And, there's so many tools out there for you nowadays. I mean, you could Google lacrosse and it comes up with everyone and their mother about how to shoot and do on the run stuff. Some of the stuff's good. So just make sure you're watching the right stuff and doing the right things. And, watch a lot of college lacrosse and pro lacrosse. I think that's the biggest thing that I did growing up was those. You get the random ESPNU game on a Tuesday, and you're like, this is awesome. I have to be home for this.
We just off there talked about the legendary Towson versus Hopkins stream.
Yeah, and that was shout out Lacrosse TV. But
no, don't shout out.
Yeah,
no shout out.
The old days, though.
Shout out to the Hopkins, legitimately social admin for streaming the game on Twitter.
That was unbelievable.
I don't know if that's legal, but
no, they
big
said
shout
it's
out.
not legal.
It's
but
not
legend for doing that.
Nothing legal about it,
It's
but
100%
sometimes
nothing
the illegal things in life make you happy.
Yeah, Mitch, we talked about this yesterday on the cast.
Yeah.
About which is probably the most lacrosse school out of college. I mean, Hopkins got admin here filming this.
Literally,
game. I mean, come on.
literally. Quick question for you. Your brother's going to Hopkins.
Yes.
Do you think Hopkins is the most lacrosse school out of any Division I school?
I mean, as much as it pained me when he did commit there, I think it probably is. I think if you look at it, it's like you go to Homewood, there's a 1901 national championship. Like they played Navy.
And the storyline of the school being Division III, the sport being D1, and I mean the banners talk.
The banners talk. I mean, granted they only played.
Granted
they
Gotta
only
be,
played
right?
Navy. They only
It's
played
gotta be
Navy for
Hopkins.
the national.
Who would
Yeah.
even be in the conversation?
It's
I don't
not
even know
even
if it's a
close.
It's got to be
conversation.
Hopkins.
I
I
mean,
said it was Hopkins yesterday.
When
on
you
the
walk
stream.
in the indoor at Syracuse, I mean they have the football, but they also have the Gate
Yeah, we
Brothers
found that
banners.
pretty cool too.
But it's still Hopkins. I don't think
It's
anybody
gotta
comes
be
up.
Hopkins.
It's
It's
the
hot.
storyline.
It's hot.
Yeah.
I mean, the U.S. Lacrosse Hall of Fame used to literally be right behind the field.
Yeah.
It's like you
Yeah.
can't be any more.
It's
Not about
Hopkins.
that.
It's
we gotta
Hopkins.
get Hopkins High Point now. By the way, Crawley, Hopkins guy, High
Yeah.
Point coach,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Asher's brother down
Yeah.
the line.
I mean, going off that, then you went from Cherry Creek to High Point.
Yeah.
Talk me through your commitment there. Why'd you choose High Point?
Yeah, fun story for me. I was committed, so that was back in the day when you committed in like 8th grade.
Yes.
That was
So
wild.
We've been there.
Shout out
I
Forey
was,
Smith.
Yeah, shout out Forey Smith. But I was probably 5'9" at the time. Got to Air Force, was like, yeah, I want to be a pilot. Like, this would be cool. They're like, yeah, you're right size for that. And I was like, nice. Year and a half later, I'm 6'2". They're like, yeah, you can't be a pilot. I'm like, well, that's the whole point of me going here. So
They can't get you in the plane.
I was like,
anymore.
I can't
There's
even
no
get
requirement.
I was like, I can't get in the plane anymore. So then I opened up the recruitment again. And it kind of came down to a couple schools, UVA, Maryland, Drexel, actually, DU, and then High Point. And Torps is the man. I mean, I think he did so much for me. And right away, he's such a good recruiter. He's just such a good salesman on the whole thing. It's a funny story I tell everyone. On my visit, it's raining. He's like, Asher, I promise you, it never rains here. I'm like, yeah, I hate the rain. I'm sweet. I'm in. Went there for 5 years. It rains for like a month and a half every year.
That's like the
Every
classic
day.
like coach recruiting
Every
pitch
day.
to like
Yeah.
get you to come. It's like, I promise you, like when you get here, like all the
All the way
girls
to
will be
Ohio
on.
State.
Yeah, everything.
The sun is out every day.
Recruiting
Coach,
is just
it's not.
gaslighting.
Yeah,
It is-
literally.
it is
They just
gaslighting.
gaslight you.
And
He's
that's
like-
why I think, to go back to your point, the early recruiting days, that's why when the recruiting was changed and then classes got reopened, everyone was decommitting because, like, to tell a kid that at 15, they're like, I'm going there. Then at 17, when he's more mature, it's like,
Yeah, it's just a crazy process, and I'm glad it's changed for sure.
100%.
I mean, your High Point days were legendary. It really feels like you and Troutner put High Point on the map. I mean, everyone knows about your stories,
Yep.
beating Virginia, Duke, all that in the early February games. But I want to talk to you about Troutner really quick. I have never, when he came into the league, I've never seen a goalie chirp so much. What's your best Troutner story, either in practice, in a game? What's your favorite one that stands out?
Yeah, there's so many. Like, I think it was my sophomore. It was the year that we beat Duke and UVA. I think Torpy put out a mission to some of the scout guys, like, hey, if you can get Asher or freak out this week, like, I'll take you. I'll get you something. I'll get you. I'll have someone of the upperclassmen take you to get a steak dinner or something like that. And a freshman attackman scored a goal and said something to him, and Timmy literally got up and he goes, if you ever talk to me like that again, he's like, you'll never hear the end of it. And the kid was like, what? And he's like, don't worry. And just didn't talk to the kid for the rest of the year, for like the last week. Didn't talk to him. The rest of the year. The last day we're there, he goes, hey man, thanks for being a good sport about that. He's like, I didn't think I could. He's like, I just didn't want to break anymore. And I was like, oh my God. So Troutner is one of the funniest people I've ever met. He's an odd bird, but he's, like I said, I think that year we don't win half the games we win if it doesn't play. So he's an unbelievable goalie.
Then let's touch on that Virginia-Duke season, right? You guys started off so hot, beating Virginia, beating Duke, High Points coming onto the map like we just talked about. But then you guys missed the tournament. Talk to me about like the different emotions that went throughout the season.
Yeah, I mean, I think, in the moment, I was really bitter about that. I think that was tough. I mean, watching the Final Four, you're like, wow, Duke and UVA are playing in the Final Four. I've beat both those teams in their house this year. Like, this sucks that I didn't even get a chance to like make a try at it. But now looking back at it now, it was so long ago, but it's the same thing. It's like, no offense to the Johnnies, you can't lose to St. John's, and you can't lose to Jacksonville at home.
Yeah.
So I think it's just one of those things, and the SoCon, RIP, but it didn't get the respect that it deserved probably.
SoCon was iconic back in the day.
The SoCon was a great conference, but it's one of those things, like you got to win your conference. I think that's one of those things when you're not an ACC Big Ten. you got to win your conference to get in the tournament. And that's how it goes.
No, I mean, look at Ohio State, 2017 runner-ups. You guys won the Big Ten championship, right?
We never did.
Oh, okay.
We never did. This is gonna be. This is gonna continue to go on. I guarantee it.
Yeah, Dukes on the anti-Ohio State
I know
trend
he
today.
always has been, but it's okay. He went to
pro.
Dayton. Do you know that's a real school?
It's
Yeah.
Ohio.
The
D2
Flyers, baby.
D2 MCLA national champions, baby.
No, they
Ohio.
weren't.
We
No,
won
they won
Ohio.
during COVID in a short
Asher, you
week.
posed this. They won 5 games during COVID, and then the season got canceled, obviously, and then he counts as a national
Yeah,
champion.
No,
Little
that would've been 3.
UCF
That would've
national
been 3.
championship.
Yeah, exactly.
That would've been 3.
He is
That would've been
a
3.
UCF natty.
That would've been
UCF
3.
natty.
I don't count that one. We have 2 before. One before, one after.
Actually,
2016, 2020.
did you play for those teams?
You know what? I
Yeah.
support.
He's a fan of the
support-
program.
support
He's an
those
alum.
teams.
I like that.
Support those teams. I heard a little rumor that Torpy really loves 6 a.m. practices, right?
Loves him.
Describe those 6 a.m. practices to all the young cats out there.
Yeah, man, that's a tough thing. He tried to equate it to, this is what you do for your job, and it's like, yeah, actually to an extent that helps, but also it's like kind of deter the boys from going out the night before probably most of the time.
Yes,
But yeah, there were some dark mornings when I was when I was a freshman. Me and my roommate Sean Coughlin woke up at, I think practice started at 6. We woke up at like 5:55. Got up, literally wearing my underwear, no shoes, sprinted to the facility, got dressed in time for practice, and we're walking down the stairs. I'm like shaking, like, oh. And Torby goes, saw you walk in late, and I was like, yeah. And he goes, oh, it was probably like 5:58. He goes, you ever do that again? He's like, you're cut. And I like looked at Sean, and I was like, oh. So then from there on out, Sean Coughlin had night terrors, just like probably once a week. Wake us up at like 1 a.m. like, dude, we gotta go, and I'd be like, get up, like get dressed.
That's an underrated part about
Yeah.
I had
I
that
mean,
too.
that used to be
I'd
the
wake
thing.
up at 2 a.m. and be like, oh, God, I'm late,
Well,
and then it's 2
that
a.m.
used to be the thing, like at our house, living with like 6 guys.
Yeah.
Like you really didn't have that worry as much. So like someone will probably wake you up.
Yeah.
But like there were some days like freshman, sophomore year, like you're living with your one roommate in the dorm room, and like I remember one time vividly, like my buddy had like the flu, like he was not going to practice. Like my alarm doesn't go off, like I'm missing practice
Yeah.
here. Like there's like
The
and
fear
then
of missing practice is huge.
It's a real
it's
fear.
a real thing.
And I still have
Don't even
nightmares
know it.
about it.
Oh, it's
I would just skip practice
you
if I
should be
wanted
happy
to.
you don't know that fear.
I'd skip
Yeah.
practice and I'd still start.
There's like nightmares. There's
There's
nightmares.
still
now.
nightmares I
Like
have.
waking up and it's like, oh, and I'm like, oh, I have to go to work. Like
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
okay. We're good. That's
So much funnier.
no one's standing there like, oh, punishment run. Here
Yeah.
you go.
Sean
Yeah.
Coglin's
Caught.
GCG too.
Yeah,
He's Garden
yeah,
City
GC
Grit,
Grit.
and
Hey.
I know that kid. Him talking about the night terrors and the anxiety he probably got after that.
You can
see it.
Very funny.
I like that.
So funny.
So like being a club lacrosse player, if we had an early practice, 11 a.m., I'd sometimes show up hungover. Was there ever one time in High Point you showed up a little under the weather where it's just like Torpy was on your ass?
Yeah, I'm past the stuff. Torch is at Brown now. I think we're good. It was actually that year we were good. Troutner, funniest thing about him, he's such a bad influence.
I'll be honest, though, a lot of the best players are like that.
Yeah,
but
that
he's
is
like
true.
he's
Party
such a
guys.
bad
Yeah.
influence, but there's no one that can do what he does in that aspect. So whatever he does it, we show up. It's a Friday practice. I think we're playing VMI.
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, whatever. I'll go with him. I remember standing there and I was like, I'm normally a pretty big like pre-game practice hog of like fresh, just stand over there. I'll just go every rep just to get ready. And that day I stood in the back and I was like, keep going. I'm not going. Keep going. I'm not going. And our OC at the time was Ken Brochart, and he was like, Ash, we need you in there. And I was like, yeah, coach, I'm not feeling so hot today. And Timmy screams from the back of the line, yeah, Asher went out with me last night, so he's not feeling good. And I was like, so we're sitting
Gotta
there.
love that.
We're sitting there like, oh, that's great. So got in a little bit of heat for that, but no, he's it was one of those things. Never again. It was a tough time, and then finally convinced Torps to give us a little midweek break, so we got Wednesdays off after
There you
that.
go.
So
There we go.
That's exciting.
That's
Tuesday
the
nights for
classic
the
too,
night.
though. Like the you don't want to take the next rep. Like you go.
Yeah, oh,
you go.
I'd look up at the clock. There's like a minute and a half left. I'm like, dude, I'm gassed. I'd like kind of sit in the back a little bit, let like people skip me, and then
Yeah.
like the clock hits 0 next drill. I'm like, all right, we're
That's
good.
one of those things, too. You go out, and then you go to practice the next day. You never do that again.
No,
Yeah.
it's
You
so
know that
hard.
feeling,
We used to call them at Ohio State too, like a dap lift. We used to call them
a
like
dap
on
lifts.
some nights when we would like go out the night before practice, like not unallowed, but like there would be nights we'd have like a Sunday practice, and like they knew we were going out on Saturday, obviously, but like Sunday lift, and we just called it dap lift. Like guys just like circle the weight room, like juicing guys up,
Dap
high
each
five,
other
like
up, high
wouldn't
five
touch
each
a
other.
weight.
That's great.
You wouldn't touch a weight the whole hour. You just like high five a guy, spot a guy, keep going.
That was the king of that one. It was just like walking around like, yeah, great job. And I'm like, I'll be in the turf room.
Booby Miles.
Booby
Booby don't lift.
This is God-given water bug.
So you talked about Torpy a lot, so I just have to ask you, what's your funniest Torpy story then? One that stands out. Give the Brown guys that are there right now a little warning what they can
sure.
expect.
A little taste.
I'm sure the Ivy League guys have gotten a little taste of it so far, but yeah, there's some good ones. I'm trying to think of a PG one that he won't get mad at me for. There's probably one where same year, or actually year after, so my junior year, so what was that, 2020, so right before COVID. Everyone knows the High Point schedule's a gauntlet to start, so I think we started off again with our usual Duke, UVA, like 10 games in 7 days or whatever, 7 games in 10 days or whatever we end up doing. It's like, dude. Oh, so we were terrible that year. I was terrible personally. Like, it was just a bad start to the year. And we lose the UMBC. And we're driving home. I'm like, God, we're terrible. This sucks. Like, we need to figure this out. And we're on the bus, and he stops the bus. He's like, yeah, everyone get off the bus. And I remember being like, I'm a junior. I'm a captain at the time. I'm like, all right, we're not, whatever. And I literally walk by him. I'm going to go, hey, do we need to grab our cleats? And he looks at me, and he goes, I am so sorry that you are that, like, programmed to think that that's what's going on. And then he gets off the bus, proceeds to MF us for 45 minutes. He goes, and Asher said I should get your cleats, so maybe we should. And everyone stares at me. I was like, well, so he flipped it on me. And luckily we just got back on the bus. But everyone was like, did you really? I was like, no, dude. He flipped that on me. But yeah, no. Torps is the man. I think there's so many funny stories. He's just such a good motivator, but also he makes you a man, which I think which we all want.
Yep.
So it's good.
And then, playing at High Point, I feel like there's just so many kids that get slept on. I mean, look at you, Troutner, Maia, just so many players. Who do you think is the most underrated player you played with, either at High Point, professionally, in high school? Some player that stands out that deserves a shout out on the show right now.
Yeah, we'll give a couple shout outs. I'll go high school. I'll go my boy Jacob Hallam, played D-mid at Marquette. I won 2 state championships with him, and he was such a valuable part. He could play both ways, but like the kid probably was 145 pounds and played D-mid and like was a lockdown D-mid. Wow. It was sick. And so he did it at the next level too. High Point, there's so many dudes you could think of. A guy that's out here this week is Jack Van Overbeek. I think people don't understand how special that kid is and was for us there. I think the High Point fellows are feeling it a little bit this year with the absence of goal scoring from him and Mayo. But and then another one right now. It's just the same thing. It's I think people will see it this week. But Alexander Verdaro is one of the more special kids I've ever gotten to see play with. The freak athleticism that he possesses is next level. So it's a good one.
Yeah, and I guess going off that with High Point, Crawley, the coach now, left Hopkins for you guys had a tough one against VMI, but give me a little bit of the state of the program. How do you feel about Crawley and where he could take the program next?
Yeah, that answer changes if they lose that VMI game. I'll tell them that much. But
and another aspect of not even streamable, couldn't even watch it.
Yeah.
You ever been to that school?
No.
Shout out to the VMI boys.
Drill Sergeant Field too.
Those kids are the grittiest people I've ever seen. To pay to go to a school that looks like Shawshank Redemption is a crazy deal. It's a crazy deal, especially up the hill from W&L. Yeah. So you hear the parties, you hear everything. You're like, this. That's just it takes a different level to go there. But state of program's in a great spot. I think Crawley's an unbelievable coach. He's an unbelievable dude, a great recruiter. I think he's going to figure it out. I think it's a mix of some of his newer guys and, older guys that had Torps. He's got a couple 5th years, Colin Cook, Tommy Meehan that I played with that are studs. But I think it's just a different regime, and I think they're figuring that whole thing out of 2 different coaching styles. Torps is a, pretty big motivator, and at the end of the day, kind of a hard ass, and it's just one of those things. And Crawley's kind of the guy that can motivate you in a different way and is a really big players coach. So I think it's going to be awesome. I can't wait to see his guys. Till he gets his guys in there. He's got some studs in there. So, it'll work out for him.
Yeah, like I would say your guys' state of the program just hired a bright young coach in Crawley. Are you guys poised to be better than Ohio State?
I don't think that takes much now, does
Oh,
it?
my God.
And this is my last question about your high point to the college day, to that pro days. I think a big knock. I didn't say this, but I think I just saw it in lacrosse media a lot. That the big knock on you coming out of college was your turnovers. How are you able to come to the pro game and almost completely wipe that problem if people thought it was, or was it the adjustment to the rules, or who helped you get rid of this turnover problem?
Yeah, I think it's one of those things. If you ever watched the High Point game when I played there, I had the ball in my stick 90% of the time
Right.
we were on offense. So turnovers were going to come, and I think it's just one of those things that, you know, it never bothered me. As long as Torps didn't really care, as the boys didn't care, the guys in the locker room that I actually cared about their opinions, as
Right.
long as it wasn't hurting us, then it wasn't a big deal. But I definitely think I took some pride in it a little bit. It's a little bit of that Brett Favre in me where it's just like, yeah, that pass would look sweet, and it's just like, I'm going to throw it, and then it's like, oh, that was terrible.
From my perspective, and I'm not the greatest lacrosse mind. I like lacrosse a lot. But when I saw you play and I saw this knock on you, I was like, it makes no sense. The guy always has the ball on his stick. He's at High Point. No disrespect to High Point. You guys were so good when you guys were there. But you're going to play a little bit of hero ball. You're going to have that little bit of exactly what you said, the gunslinger mentality.
Yeah.
Try to get it passed by you might not make at this level where you don't have to.
Yeah, no, I had a little bit of the home run complex, and I think I had to learn that when I got to the pros, that not every play has to be a home run.
Yeah.
And I think that's a big deal. And that just came with maturing and playing more lacrosse and playing at a higher level.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and I mean, today we're back, right behind us, where you guys won the game
we're
last
back.
year, raised the trophy. Kind of walk us through that whole week last year being here, and from the start, how you guys felt beforehand, and then obviously that overtime game was wild, right, and eventually winning it.
Yeah, last year was wild. I kind of came in banged up with my knee, and so was struggling with that a little bit, and just kind of gritty. It is a gritty week. It's hard. It's we started on Saturday, but it's the same thing. It's like practicing. You have to practice hard to get ready for this. So then it's like the practices kind of take it out of you into a game. And in sixes, it's really cool. I think people enjoyed watching it last year. We enjoyed playing it, obviously. But it's just one of those things, like, it's hard. It's a grind of a week. And, it's kind of the battle of attrition there. So it's the same thing. We were lucky enough to stay as healthy as we could. We didn't lose any big guys, and I think that really benefited us.
Oh yeah, and I think too one of the coolest things I saw was the clip of Holman last year, kind of during that tie game, or at some point in the fourth quarter, kind of going up to you and being like, Asher, like, I need you here. Like, you're almost telling you to take hold of the team, and then you had that unbelievable play where you were like falling down and put it right on Drenner's stick, like to help you guys moving forward. Like, what does that mean to have like Coach Holman right there in that moment, like say, Asher, like, go do what you need to do and like take over this game for us?
Yeah, no, that's an awesome feeling. I think that's one thing I love about Coach Holman. He's a player's coach in the sense that, if he needs something to happen, he'll tell you, and I think that's a really big deal for us. So at the end of the day, I think, it was a really, really awesome moment. But again, I've said it a lot. Shorties are awesome. I think it's awesome dodging shorties. So anytime you can get that advantage, I think it's a big deal.
Yeah. And they call you they say the grit king of sixes, the bully ball mentality. Was that always how you kind of approached it, or that just kind of happened when you were playing sixes naturally?
I think it just kind of came down to it. It was like, listen, it's Boyle calls me Jokic, whatever they call me Magic. It's like the same thing. It's like, you know what? I'm not 5'8" and an attackman anymore. Like we're actually, I'm a big dog. Like it's how that
Who do you
works.
like big dogging the most?
I won't answer that. That's a trap question. That's a trap question. You could have gotten me on that a little bit ago, but no, that's
I remember that clip.
Yeah, put him down.
Now, looking back at stuff like that, do you regret that stuff, or you just sometimes you look back?
So no, it started as a joke in college. I did it against Colgate my 5th year, and then like my rookie year, or whatever, we were terrible. We're 1-9. We lose all those games, and then the second year, like, we kind of wanted to bring some juice back, and someone sent me that clip of like, dude, that'd be hilarious if you did that. Did it against the Chrome, and then it blew up, and I was like, well, now I can't really get rid of that, I guess. And so now, now in Kangaroo Court, anytime you see that, just know that cost me like $20. So it's well worth the fine.
And the Cannons too. I feel like you guys as a team are such a good fit for like the sixes model. Why do you think that is?
Yeah, I think we have some stuff. I think it's just like we have so many good two-way studs. Like Bubba's an awesome guy for sixes. Like this is a game built for him. He can play. He's unbelievable D-mid, but he also was an All-American midi. Like,
Yeah.
it's just one of those things that, he has that. And then, guys like Matt Campbell, who might be the best player for Sixers ever.
Yeah.
I mean, he's the biggest, strongest, fastest kid out there at all times. So I think it's one of those things that he does an unbelievable job of. So, I think we
were
just
talking
got the
about it
guys.
yesterday. You guys probably have the most athletic roster here. Talking guys-wise, like, I think that's obviously going to, separate you guys, and obviously did last year, and we'll see if you guys can go back-to-back.
Yeah, no, and Colin Kirsten, that helps a lot
Yeah.
too. So
He's
The
pretty
curse
good,
the
right?
eyes, they say.
Yeah.
The
Curse
curse
of the
the
week.
eyes.
Curse of the week.
Curse
Shout
the
out
eyes.
Nasty.
Yeah, curse of the
Nasty.
What does Coach say to Curse before he goes out there? Just like, good luck?
you don't need to say anything to that kid. That kid's been dialed in. He'll be dialed in from the time that we landed. He landed in that airport to the time that we leave. It'll be dialed in.
Yeah,
Can we see him with the shorty this week?
Yeah, that'll never happen. That
Yeah,
guy.
no, Gittleman likes it.
Yeah, Gitz loves it. Kirst is stuck in that net. He'll always be in
Nestler
that net.
swears. Nestler swears that Kurst could play Sixers field.
Really?
Swears by it.
Interesting.
Colin Kirst.
Yeah.
I
Says
mean,
he ha-
Kirst
says he's
has
nice.
some skills.
Yeah.
He has.
Says he's pretty nice.
He's obviously an unbelievable lacrosse player, but
Have you been seeing the Hardwood Classics on the Curse Brothers Lacrosse account? Them getting some training.
the
with
Hardwood
kids.
Classics, dude. There's not if you want a really good account to follow that's
Yeah.
just pure lacrosse, KBL, I'll shout him out. I'm a KBL athlete,
Yeah.
KBL Lacrosse, the best Instagram
Yeah.
of all
The
time.
trainings they're doing in the 20x10 hardwood floor. It's elite.
Half a
That's an
basketball
elite
court,
family.
Yeah.
like half a
Yeah, no,
basketball
it
court.
is.
You see the one hoop that looks like it's from the Naismith era. You're like, where are they?
Maybe a wooden backboard.
Youngest
Yeah.
brother's up next, too. He's going to Rutgers.
Yeah,
Yep.
no, he's at Rutgers.
Caden.
Is he at there now?
Caden's
Or
at
is he
Rutgers.
freshman?
He's
Freshman.
freshman at
Oh, so
Rutgers.
he's there now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so he's up next.
Kurst
Yeah.
are always coming. Let's not beat around the bush, okay? You are one of the most dominant offensive players when field, sixes, any variation of lacrosse, where you see a shorty, you create so much for yourself, your teammates. I think that in sixes especially, I think going into sixes a couple years ago, you're like, oh, someone like Sowers,
Yeah.
who's fantastic at sixes, might be able to dominate. But it's really the bigger guys. It's like you, Campbell, you see Romar Dennis.
Yeah.
Which NBA player do you think you resemble your game after in the sixes variation of lacrosse?
Yeah, I think that's a tough one. I mean, the obvious one is Jokic. I think it's one of those things like, I know my athleticism doesn't pop off the screen, but I'm
Sneaky
It's
athletic.
sneaky. It's sneaky. Like
Play
I think
yourself now. Come on now.
I think it's one of those things. I just think it's one of those things. People are like, oh, really? And it's like, yeah, I'm probably faster than you, and I'm probably can jump higher and do a
And
bunch
I
of
will
stuff.
punch you in the face.
And I'm tougher.
And
And
they'll tell you to sit down afterwards.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just one of those things. I think it's just, but it's also, I'd say just creating for my teammates. I think that's the thing that he does the best is he's such a good facilitator. And I think if you can take that stuff from, basketball, obviously, I think that's something that I grew up playing. So being a point guard and distributing and making sure everyone gets the ball is a big deal. 'Cause
Yes,
there's only one ball out there.
Yeah.
My opinion is that you are the Luka Doncic
I like Luka.
of sixes. So offensively dominant, but a lot of people might look at you right now defensively because you're not a defender. They might say, is Asher a liability on the defensive end? Now, last year, I think that Holman did a great job of kind of getting you off the field. But what would you say to some hater out there that thinks that you're a liability being stuck at the defensive end? You here to prove something?
I am a liability on the defense.
He's going
That's
right
what I'll say.
He's just going to the box.
That's what
He's
I'll
going to
say.
the box.
I
That's
thought you
what
were
I'll
gonna
say.
say strap up. Let's
No,
go.
No, he's running to the box.
Listen, I'll find a matchup that I can win. But if it's me and, Brian Cosby, whoever it ends up being this week, yeah, I'm gonna be like early slide calls here.
Let's
make sure.
Chirp.
Let's make sure
Chirp.
we get it. But if it comes down to the end of the day, like, yeah, I'll strap on the boots and see if I can get some work in. But yeah, no, like I said, I know my role.
Yeah.
And it's to
Luka.
try to get off the field.
Look, I'd say this about Luka. People think that Luka's a liability on the defensive end. It doesn't matter if you're a liability if you put up 40 and 10. You get a
Oh,
triple-double.
100%.
So,
100%.
just
That's
put
no
up your
lie.
points. In the defensive end, you get up a goal. Doesn't matter.
You got to get that plus minus up.
Exactly,
That's all
there
that
we
That's
matters.
all about.
All right, and we're filming this today on Tuesday. This is going to go live Sunday.
Okay.
So on Sunday, what's the Cannons record going to be at that point, and how many points are you going to have?
You guys are setting me up for failure here.
That's why we have it in the script, boys.
Well,
Set.
before you answer this, what was the major at High Point?
Business.
Ooh,
BA guy.
Okay.
Business guy, minor in finance and sales.
Don't
Shout
forget
out,
about it.
shout out Dr. Larry Quinn.
Dr.
Dr. Larry Quinn. Him and
uh,
Agnew got to get together.
Yeah, that's a tough one. You guys are setting me up. Let's see. So we play 3 games, right?
Won't go live till Sunday, though. So
We'll play 3 games. We'll go 3-0 and 25 points.
all right. That'll be popped up on the screen now when the record
let's
actually
see if
is.
he actually gets it right.
If this is Sunday and it's way worse than that, you know what?
Cut
We're
it
coming
out.
in confidence. No, we'll keep it in.
Yeah,
keep it in. It's all right. It's all
Keep
right.
it in. I like that.
So I just want to finish off with this with Sixes Cannons. I believe that this is a tryout for everybody in lacrosse. We see the Ronan Jacoby story last year. You see Krebs earn a position 2 years ago playing well. It's a tryout for those guys that are unproven, sure. But for guys like you now and all the players out there, I believe that this is a tryout for Sixes, for the Olympic roster, for LA 28. I think that a lot of people won't get invites to the Team USA camp, but they can really prove to get that invite through playing well here. You have 60 seconds right now. I want you to state your case on why you deserve to be on LA 28's roster.
Man, you guys are the worst. I'll tell you what. I think it's one
Mitchell
of those,
Pehlke Lacrosse Show.
Come on.
Mitchell Pehlke Lacrosse Show.
Bang!
you guys are.
All right, start the timer now.
Now.
Yeah, you know, I'll say it again. I think it's just one of those things. There's not many short sticks in the world that can guard me. I can always draw a slide. I'm a feed first guy. I don't need the ball in my stick to make a case for myself. I think, you know, I'm an underrated shooter.
Yep.
Going.
I think you know, no twos really advantaged me. So
Not at all.
It doesn't
going.
don't need the twos. 60 seconds about this. Coach Shea, you're the man.
He's a nice guy.
Yeah,
He's a great
we
guy.
love Coach Shea.
Coach Shea's the man. Coach Mitch is also on the staff, so Coach Mitch, your Cannons guy, help me out a little bit. No, but again, like I said, there's going to be some guys on that team, and hopefully myself that, you know, like I said, there's only one ball on the field.
Yeah.
I'm pretty good at distributing it.
I'll help you out with your case too. If anyone's out there, if Coach Shea thinks you're a defensive liability, then just steal what Coach Holman did last year.
Yeah.
Get him off the field fast. He'll create points for you offensively. This guy's a weapon. He's a great, and let's get him on that roster, huh?
Listen,
that.
listen, I'll get off the
And he's
field
an
fast.
MPLS friend.
He is an
Yes,
MPLS
yes,
friend.
yes.
Are we going to be
Yes.
live in LA in 28? Come on.
We hope so.
We hope
Come
so.
on.
We hope so. And then we can get you on after, hold the trophy. We
Yeah.
hope.
Sitting on the
Trophy
Mitchell
with his
Pehlke.
gold medal.
sitting on here with the boys in 28.
That'd be sick.
That'd be sick.
Well, obviously, you know, this beautiful set, shout out Duke Cannon. I mean, this place looks unreal. Who, in your opinion, is the guy that works the hardest for the Cannons, is the sweatiest, and just all around, like, puts in the most grit on your squad this year?
That's a good one. I think we'll go Ethan Rawl.
Ethan Rawl.
I think that's a guy that's coming into this who has to play short stick. That's an unbelievable LSM. Arguably now, I think he's the best LSM in the world, in my opinion.
Yeah. Interesting.
Good take.
And, you know, the things he does for us. And now he's playing shorty. And last night, I think he probably had 2 takeaway checks.
Yeah.
Like, the kid's an absolute monster.
Yeah.
So, yeah, dude's the man, and he works hard for us. He grinds his ass off.
I love
He
that.
hacked me up in college, dude. One time, dude, I like won the face-off back, and I was like trying to get it into the box, and he was just at Rutgers, just
He's my
hacking
favorite. He's
all
my
over.
favorite LSM.
And in
now.
my head, the whole time, I'm like, dude, do not turn this over. Do not turn this over. Luckily, he kind of let off me at the
Yeah.
end. Like once I kind of got in the alley, he kind of like mellowed in. I did a roll and throw. I was like, all right, I'm good.
Yeah.
But like my arm afterwards, I
You
had
were
like the
donezo.
fattest bruise
were
on my
donezo.
elbow. Yeah.
But, Asher, on the Cannons, who needs Duke Cannon the most? And take
Yeah,
a look
who's
at
the
it.
smelliest?
Take a look at these real quick. Here you go. Read the back of that one
Yeah.
actually for me real quick. Inside that little box.
Yeah,
This one?
Yeah.
Who kind of smells like, you know, we
smells
need to
like
get
a
him some Duke
pleasant
Cannon stuff.
mountainside jaunt, not a parking garage in South Philly.
Smell that one first. What does that
Yeah,
smell?
we'll give this one a smell. Someone, did you use this already?
No, that the caps.
Maybe Duke's did.
Duke's might use it.
Mitch needs it.
Ooh, that's a good one. All right, I like that one.
smells
So who would you give that
Garbage.
to the
Who
most?
needs that to, you know, smells the locker room doesn't smell
Go
as
with the
bad.
Philly guy. It's Campbell. I
Oh,
mean,
it's on point. I mean, you saw the back.
He's a jaunt. It's a mountainside jaunt. I like it.
I like that.
He needs that. He needs that. This speaks to him. So
I like
that's
that. All right, Asher, thanks for coming on.
Thanks for coming, Asher.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, fellas.
And tune in today. The WLL and the PLL semifinals are on in a couple hours. See you guys soon.